Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Deathsticks. We're in our third round now, and we're going strong. We have a very exciting guest today. It's something a little different. It's crowdcasting, and we're going to be talking about how people...
crowdfunding and crowdcasting, just to say.
My goodness.
That's okay. We've just been so concentrated with
crowdcast app still, Patty. What's going on?
I know. I just wanted to grab you on your way on that freight train.
I was on the train. I was on it. Dana's here with us. Patty's going to introduce Dana. But if this is your first time joining us, we are the Deathsticks, Patty Burgess and myself, Misty Lynn, and we're here to put death on the table. We want to talk about it. Everyone does it, and for some reason, there's closed lips on it. Oh, excuse me just for a minute. Okay, that was a good sign. We're using a new Crowdcast app, and that was our signal that it is working, so thanks for your patience as we get our feet wet with this. Anyhow, we are here, and we're talking about death, all things death, dying, grief, and loss. And we feel that because everyone does it, it's about time that everyone should start talking about it. So thank you for joining us. Please share around, tell your friends, tell your family, start talking about it, start planning for it. It doesn't have to be dark and scary and gloomy. We can plan for it and we can have a good time on the way out. So thanks for joining us, and over to you, Patty.
All right, thank you. I got a little panicked there because I had apparently two windows open and I kept hearing an echo. And I just thought, isn't this odd, especially with our guest? She had her first experience of the Deathsticks before she even got on the air. We weren't even sure if she was going to, because there she was sitting in the chair, but we could not see her. So it was like our ghost guest today is Dana Ostomel, and I'm so excited to have you and in person. Otherwise, we would have, worked with your filmy essence or something like that to be able to get this information out there. But just so excited that you're here, because what you're doing is amazing. And how it's kind of pointing to this memorial funding. And what I want to do is give you a proper introduction. So today, our guest is Dana Ostomel, and this whole crowdcasting, crowdfunding thing will make sense in just a minute. Dana is the founder and chief gifting officer of depositagift.com, which is a crowdfunding platform that allows anyone to easily, safely, and securely create a fundraising campaign for whether it's an organization, whether it's a school, or any kind of personal need. And just a little bit about Dana's background and how she came to even get to this space. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that from hearing from you, Dana. Dana's a marketing and branding expert with over a decade of experience developing amazing marketing solutions for such brands that you've heard of: Snapple, Century 21, Home Depot, DirecTV, MasterCard. And she coaches people on setting the best approach to setting up their marketing campaigns. She's got a lot of interesting background to talk about, and obviously something brought her to this space, this crowdfunding space. And what we found out is that, Dana, that your niche is, at least in this respect, is pointing to memorial funding, memorial gifting. And we want to find out more about that. So welcome. It was a crazy introduction and a crazy time in the green room beforehand, but we're glad you made it. So, Dana,
thank you so much for having me, guys.
How are you?
I'm great. I'm really happy to be here today to talk about memorial funds.
Wonderful. And, by way of starting out, it's not one of these things I often say, in the death space, I often say that people just don't wake up one day and, start working in this arena. And I would expect the same thing, that, your experience has brought you along to here. What got you started? What made you thinking of this? And, ultimately into this sort of niche area of memorial funding.
Yeah, so as you said, I run the crowdfunding platform Deposit a Gift, and we happen to have a growing, we call it a vertical, right, in the memorial space. Our platform has actually been live for we're like a bit over 5.5 years now, going on 6 years around Thanksgiving. And the interesting thing is that when we started, we actually we're a cash gift registry service, and this whole concept of crowdfunding that's kind of like a buzzword right now didn't exist, right? So what people wanted at the time, if you go back even when we started development like 7 years ago, people just wanted a polite way to ask for cash gifts. And so the low-hanging fruit was like wedding registries, right? Like instead of pots and pans and towels and sheets, people wanted to register for their honeymoon or to save for a home. And so initially what we built with Deposit a Gift was just like a flexible cash gifting platform that the intent was to kind of be like a mashup of a wedding website and a department store registry, and the registry sort of helped you tell the story of what you wanted money for and how you would use it. So it wasn't just like cash for cash is safe, but your friends and family could be part of the journey, be part of the story. And what was so interesting was that less than a year into being in business, when, I mean, I'm sure you guys, you run your own businesses also, have had this experience where you think you're going to do one thing and then your customers, right, start to point you in another direction, which is, I mean, I think that's neat, and it's also really in tune with our company values. We're very customer-centric. We do a lot with hands-on support, like you can actually talk to a person behind the website. So anyways, long story short, about a year into being in business, people just naturally started to use us for fundraising purposes, right? So we saw people raising money for schools, nonprofits, to start businesses, but a big area that we started to see was memorial and medical funds. And so it was interesting because for actually a couple of years, we kept our, what we refer to as like our registry platform, like one product, the original, sign up, create something, and people just kind of worked with it and used it. And as crowdfunding started to become more of a common concept on the internet, and we saw that people really wanted us to raise money for anything that mattered to them. They didn't want to be put in a box of like what it could be for. I think a lot of it just has to do with like your brand, right? So my background's marketing, so I think of things in those terms, but it's like, what can people very naturally accept your brand to do? So our brand name is Deposit a Gift, right? So there's this idea of a gift where you give. So it makes sense, obviously, in the wedding space. In the nonprofit space, it makes sense because donations are called gifts. And in the memorial space, in the medical space, which unfortunately sometimes are linked, it also, you're giving from your heart, right? Like you're not giving to get a reward from someone's, Kickstarter, movie campaign. You're giving because you want to do something karmically good for somebody else. So memorial funds and medical funds for personal fundraising are just a natural fit for us. And I mean, just, I'm sure I know you guys have questions, you want to talk about all different kinds of uses, but as an example, like just 2 days ago, I saw a campaign like revive itself, and I recognized the name because, we're always watching the back end. Sure. And it turns out that what was once the Chris Drinkword Medical Fund turned into the Chris Drinkword Memorial Fund, which was really upsetting. Obviously, we're in it every day, and it still like touches us. But what it's done is it's given their friends and family a place to like rally to support their family. So when he was fighting his cancer battle and he needed to cross the country to get help at a specific hospital, people use the site to raise money for that, and hopefully the story ends there, but sometimes it doesn't. And then when he passed away a few days ago, they revived the site and just changed the wording on it, and now it's becoming a memorial fund site because he has 2 sons, so to help kind of raise money for their education.
What I love about this is the fact that stories inspire, and stories inspire people to share from their heart, whether it's their good wishes, their blessings, their feelings, and in this case, their cash when it matters most. And so, this story in particular that you mentioned is really something because it gives that opportunity for people to tell the story in a crowd, in a place where people can exchange. So it feels very, very interactive versus putting a check in the mail and saying, I wish you the best. It just feels really interactive. Do you find that, and obviously there's a place for comments and information on the site as well.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, I think a couple of things. One is it is totally interactive. It's much faster, right? So crowdfunding is really taking the concept of like pass the hat at church or, you know, a lemonade stand or a bake sale and elevating it so that you can literally have a memorial fund site set up in minutes and you can pass it around via email, social media, text message, you know, so quickly, and people can get involved from anywhere. But what we get told a lot is that one of the sort of surprising byproducts of a memorial fund, it's not just the money, it's not just the instant gratification, but it's actually the messages that come with it. It's like getting a hug from the internet, and it happens so quickly. But I also would say that, like, you know, more often than not, people don't just drop a check in the mail like in a time when someone dies, right? So usually the natural things that people do is they send flowers or, you know, food. And the thing is that there's only so many flowers you need, and they're gonna die. And, you know, there's only so many casseroles that you can eat. And really, memorial funds give people a way to help in a more constructive way. So you can identify for people, this family needs help actually with burial. This family is totally covered on the burial money, but they want to save money for the kids left behind, or they would like to do a tribute bench, you know, at the boardwalk that the family used to spend time, so you can contribute to that. So there's all different ways to offer people a more constructive way to offer their support, a more immediate way, right? And you want to do it. I mean, I'm sure we'll get into like best practices later, but I mean, it sounds sort of weird, but you want to capitalize on the emotion. Like, you want to do it when it happens, because that's when people, I mean, unfortunately, somebody dies, it's a hot topic, people are talking, they're very sad, and then their lives move on. I mean, that the family is left and they're still grieving, but, you know, this is a way for people to, like, and I think the other piece of it is often, like, people don't, when see people say, oh, what can I do? And they say, oh, I don't know. Oh. Both parties are sort of left wanting, right? And, like, people really want a way to help. Like, you're almost on some level doing them a favor. Like, you're giving them a way to offer their support. So it does various things.
Well, and I would agree with that, because, you know, a lot of people talk about the kinds of ways to support someone who's had a loss or grief, and many times we say, what can I do? Which is a very open-ended question, and as you say, it leaves people wanting and hanging, versus I can do this for you. And so if you're not going to have that personal connection, as you say, the way to really complete that loop is to do it quickly when it's most raw, is depositing a gift.
Yeah.
Very much so. Very much so. I also wanted to do a shout out. Let me pull up to Kim Bultman or Bultman. I don't know if you can see her now. She says, Dana, I really like your association with the word gift. And her experience, gifts relieve a lot of the stress during loss, no strings attached. And what you don't see on this particular post is that Kim mentioned earlier that she suffered a loss. The house that they were renting burnt to the ground. And they had renter's assurance, thankfully. But apparently her daughter, I guess is what she was saying, started a fundraising campaign and made such a huge difference for her. And I'm sure that's one of many. You mentioned 7 years ago when you started development. How long has crowdfunding really been around to the, back then?
I think if you look at the timeline of, you know, obviously we're not the only game in town. We want people to use Deposit a Gift, but there are other
sites out there. You are today. You're the only game in town.
Today. But I think, like, it's about 5 to 6 years. Like, you know, most, like, we existed 5.5 years ago. So we soft-launched the end of 2009. We were fully live 2010, and there were a couple of other sites that either were in development or, like, slowly being used. And I don't even know if the word for them was crowdfunding yet, right? So it probably in 2010 is when it started to be like a word, right? 2011 is when you started to see it being used a little bit more. But honestly, it's really just in the last year or two that it's becoming like much more of a concept in the media, and that's really actually, interestingly, it's coming from Kickstarter, right? So they're sort of like the 800 pound gorilla in the room, but they're really just for creative and entrepreneurial projects. So I even call them like the Kleenex of crowdfunding, because you'll hear people say, I'm going to do a Kickstarter, and it's just a noun. What they mean is I'm going to do a crowdfunding campaign, and in the memorial space it will never be on Kickstarter because they just do creative and entrepreneurial projects. But it's that idea that the, say, for-profit world is sort of driving the landscape, but actually the majority of crowdfunding campaigns, like where the growth is happening in crowdfunding, is actually in donation-based. So that's sort of the difference. So a campaign you'd see on Kickstarter to help people, someone, start a movie, is called a rewards-based campaign. And then a memorial fund or a nonprofit campaign or a campaign for a school is called donation-based crowdfunding. And that's actually where the majority of the growth is happening, because those types of issues, right, like people die every day, people get sick every day, nonprofits have to raise money around the clock, schools have to raise money around the clock, versus if you're doing a project, it's usually time and space based. So that's sort of the difference in kind of how it's happening.
It's I like how you explain how the gorillas in the room, the big ones, they kind of lead the way, but it really makes room for raising public awareness around this and getting people thinking. And then when they see something like Deposit a Gift come up, it's not like, what is this about? It's like, oh,
right,
look, I can help, I can donate, and it's easy.
That's so funny that you say that, Misty, because that's actually how this happened. So some of our first customers who used us for fundraising, people said to them, actually one of the stories specifically, this guy was raising money for his restaurant with us, and his customer said, well, we just got back from our honeymoon and we just did a honeymoon registry. Like, if you can register for your honeymoon, why can't you register for what your restaurant needs, right? Like, so people actually, like you said, they see it out there, and then they make the mental leap for themselves of like, well, if you can do it this way, metaphorically. But I think in the memorial fund space, one thing that I think is really interesting is that I think by and large across the country, for the average person, it's actually not a known concept. And so what we find is people often just find us through Google search, because they think to themselves, and they start typing, wouldn't it be cool if I could ask people to donate to my dad's burial online? Wouldn't that be neat if that existed? Let me go see if I can find it. Or, gosh, I really just want to do a scholarship fund to honor my son. Like, it's been a year. I feel more whole. I want to do something positive with this. Like, let me go see if I can find this. And then they stumble upon it, and they realize, like, oh, my wish has come true. This actually exists. It's called crowdfunding for memorials.
Yeah. I had a friend, and there was some kind of tragedy. I can't remember the details. Kind of a friend of a friend. And I think it was like a house burned down, but it was a big family tragedy. And one of the neighbors, it was actually his daughter who started it. And she just, through social media, she just put the word out. I don't think she actually used something like your platform, which makes it super simple. I think she just went out on social media, and she raised so much money, like just by, and it came in, and the family felt secure, and they were able to find a home, and also to care for, the ones who passed. And from that, it was so interesting because people kind of saw her mobilize others. And now she's, it's led her to work with event promotions. They said, you're really good at this. You're really good at mobilizing people. So anyhow, it was just, it's kind of happens all over in very different ways. And I'm wondering if you could share with our viewers how, like, say something happened. What would I do? I go to depositagift.com, and what do I actually have to do to start it?
Yeah, so actually it's quite simple. So you would just literally go to depositagift.com, and then there's a big orange button on the home page that says Get Started. You click that button, you create an account, and then it walks you through a really basic setup wizard, right? So our platform has multiple capabilities to it, but you can just have a very simple campaign if you want to just have like an about page and a contribute page with a goal and a thermometer, and that's it. If you want some other bells and whistles, like we're the only crowdfunding platform that has a ticket sales functionality. So let's say you wanted to actually create like a small nonprofit in honor of someone who died, or you wanted to do a benefit to raise money for a scholarship. You could be doing the memorial fund online, and then you could even activate our ticket sales function, and you could sell tickets for that, which a lot of people like, because sometimes, you know, you go into your fund with one idea, and then it takes on a life of its own, and you realize that you have, like this girl you're talking about, you didn't realize people would be so responsive. I mean, if you can figure out the marketing part, right, and in memorials and medicals, a lot of the times the baked-in emotion carries itself, right? You don't really have to do much to market it. It's just a matter of constantly posting on social media and sending out a lot of emails. But if you do that and you stay on people's radar, these things can really take off. But it's very simple to set up, right? So it's literally like, go to depositagift.com, click the orange button, go through the setup wizard, publish your site, and then you have a link to share. And then with us, you know, we made it so that people can come back again and again. So people do use us like multiple times for different kinds of events. You don't have to sign up again. So like if you had an account already, you would just come back to the depositagift.com homepage and you would log in. And once you already have an account, that part's done, and you just click a button that says, you know, create a new fundraiser, and go through that setup wizard. So it's really simple, and the support team is standing by. So, you know, we want to make sure that this works well for you, and we understand that a lot of these situations are really sensitive. People are uncomfortable. They don't necessarily know what to say. Lots of times they don't know yet what they want to do with the money. That's probably one of the biggest stumpers for memorial funds, because the quicker you respond and have it ready nearest the time of the death, like the better. It sounds weird, it sounds a little crude, but like the better it will do, meaning people are responsive when they're first touched by the news. And so sometimes, you know, we had somebody who, actually we've had a variety of these, like a corporate situation, right? So somebody dies from with a company, they are big in the media, they're really big in the sales world, they've contacts all over, and people want to do something. And again, rather than have people start sending flowers or stuff that really is not constructive, they set the site up, they say very minimally, you know, so-and-so died, we're really sad, everyone's been asking what they can do to help, we've set up this memorial fund. The family still wants to take a little bit of time to think about how they're going to use it. They're considering some different charities, a trust, or whatever. We will get back to you and let you know what we end up doing with it. But in the meantime, you can show your support to the family here. So I think that's also kind of one of the nice things, is you don't necessarily have to have all the answers. You can set something up very tastefully, give as much or as little information as you want, and then let people know, like, because you get all of the data of the people who donate. You have their names, you have their emails. So it's very simple to circle back with them and say, hey, we just wanted to let you know, how you made a difference, which is also a big piece of it, is like letting people be part of the journey, closing the loop for them, making them feel good about the support that they gave.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that. Like, so say you decide, okay, I think I'm going to do this, and you're probably a bit afraid, kind of feels funny to ask people for help, but say you do go ahead and you press the orange start button and you say something like you did, you know, we're doing this, not sure what we're going to do, if you'd like to leave something. And then a few weeks go by and you've decided what to do with your money. Are you saying that you can go back into the site and find out who all deposited a gift, and you can send them a bulk email, or you could send them individual thank yous, or so that's all like a database management system in a way?
Yeah, and you can also edit the site. So you can go in and change it. You can give an update. You can say, okay, you know, the family's figured out what they want to do. Now we're going to be splitting this between 2 organizations. We're going to, you know, we've decided that we want to, you know, donate something in somebody's honor, you know, whatever it might be. Sorry, I don't know if that's me. Oh, that's weird. I don't know what someone's calling.
I think, well, we have your audio. Oh, you're back. You're back.
Yeah, I jumped for a second because I was hearing bells. I don't know if you were hearing them, but.
Oh, I think there is something going on over in the back seat of yours.
Something going on there.
Yeah. So anyway, so yes, absolutely, Misty. You can edit it. You can give people updates.
Mm-hmm.
It's all like fully transparent. That's another big piece of it. Is I think, you have the opportunity to set your site up in a really credible, legitimate way, so people feel comfortable. And actually, like I said, we offer really hands-on customer service, so we're monitoring. And if we see that like the site doesn't have a picture, right? Like a picture makes a big difference, right? Or it's unclear, maybe they didn't put any text on the about page, we'll send them a note and say, hey, we really want this to work well for you. Here are a couple of best practices just to kind of make this work. And once the site looks nice, here are some suggestions on how to spread the word about it.
Right. Dana, I just have to let you know, you're kind of, there's this maybe death atmosphere in the air, but you're fading in and out. Were you catching that?
Yeah, I was catching, well, the audio was okay for me, but I noticed, Dana, that I can see you in the thumbnail, but when you are speaking and you're supposed to be on the larger screen, that was blacked out. Did you see that, Misty? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, anyhow, I just want to let our viewers know that Dana is still here with us, alive and well. We're sorry if there's
Can you guys hear me? It's weird in my thumb. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, and you know what? Why don't, if you want to, just jump back off and jump back in again with that link. Misty and I will do like a little vaudeville dance while you're gone. And
yeah, because it looks like I'm frozen. So, yep, I will leave and jump right back in.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, we'll see you in a bit. And while she's gone, Patty, I just want to, there's a few comments. Sure. Kim, thanks so much for being with us.
Hey guys, can you see me now?
Yes, we can.
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
Actually, oh, okay, go ahead. Yes, you're back. That's great. Actually, we were doing some shout-outs to some of the people in the group, although
good.
I'm seeing, go ahead, Misty.
Yeah, so just Kim again, she says, nobody likes to ask for help, particularly around money, but there's so many folks willing to help, and that's so true. So thanks, Kim. And she also says that this is her first experience with crowdfunding. Crowdfunding, and that, Dana, your platform sounds like it's filled with integrity and empathy. So
thank you, Kim.
So thanks. Yeah, I get that sense too. And just the name, even deposit a gift, it's really touching. It's a nice it comes with a nice feel. It comes with the heart.
Absolutely. I was going to also ask, and Misty, I think there you go. You're back. Everybody's back. This is so good. When it works, it works. I love this. I was going to ask, you mentioned sort of a couple of different approaches. Maybe some people are donating for scholarships or to give to charity in one's name. And then let's say in Kim Bultman's situation, they are responding to an immediate need. Do you find that there is a difference in the success of those kind of campaigns? Do people feel more compelled when there's an urgency and immediacy to give, or do you even track? I don't even know if you track that or not. I was curious.
No, I actually think both of those situations are typically perceived as urgent, right?
Okay.
So urgent, a house fire; urgent, someone has cancer; urgent, a car crash. But when someone dies, I mean, that's typically pretty urgent and emotional, right? People are sad, so there's the baked in just.
Yes, I was speaking more about money going to a scholarship and a charity versus going to the person in need.
But it's still like the foundation is that someone just died, right? And so we want, it's somebody died, and this is how you can support the family. And then every family has a different need. So some families actually need the money for burial. So there's an urgency, like literally, we can't do it without your money. But often it's just someone died. People are asking what they can do to honor them. And this is how you can honor them. This is what we've chosen. We've chosen a scholarship that we want to create our own scholarship. This person has children that are going to need their support. We want to do a plaque. We want to do a bench. We want to do a special celebration of life party, whatever it might be. There's really no difference because the urgency comes from actually the death.
So it's more responding to what the family need is, not how it's going to be used in that moment, because as we talked about before, it may not even be figured out at that point. So
correct. Yeah. I mean, and then, you know, if you have something that's more like long term, right? So like we've got a few going on right now where someone died and like one family's actually setting up a nonprofit and they want to do a yearly scholarship because there was a young person who died, and so they want to give money to a student, and they're actually forming a board, and they're turning this into a more formal long-term thing. For them, I'm finding that they are needing to have a little bit more of a marketing strategy, right? So I do a lot of coaching. I do a lot of like crowdfunding 101 workshops, and typically those are targeted at like nonprofits and schools. And the reason is because they don't have, typically they don't have the emotion baked in, right? So if somebody's sick or someone dies, it's urgent, it's emotional, because one of the big things you need to do in crowdfunding that people don't always understand, like the big misnomer is that people just think you just put it on the internet and then the internet gives you money, right? Because that's sort of the myth, because you see certain campaigns like go viral, and so people think everything goes viral, and it doesn't.
Right.
The reason things go viral typically is because they're emotional, right? People respond to emotion. So when it's a sickness or like an untimely death or there are children involved, that whole case that we encourage people to make, which is you have to be able to convince someone, why should I give today and not tomorrow, right? Like, why can I not postpone this? And so you're making a case for why the need is imminent, and it's obvious when someone dies. It's obvious when someone's sick. For schools and nonprofits, what we talk to them about is you have to build a case as to why this is necessary. You have to use, you know, sometimes you have to even quantify it. Like, it costs us this much money to feed this many people, and we've got a deadline by Christmas. You know, help us do it, right? So they have to be more strategic, and they also have to come up with a marketing plan for, like, okay, I'm going to send 3 emails a week, and I'm going to post on Facebook this many times, and I'm going to, you know, talk to these certain big donors and make sure that they give on these days to help me keep the ball rolling. With typical memorial or medical situations, you don't need to do that because everyone is just so heartsick that, like, they're excuse the pun, they're dying to give. Like, they have to do something, right? But if you're doing something longer term, like some of these scholarships where we see people like really want to do something longer, then you have to actually recognize that this stuff is like call and response. And so if you've got to have a plan for putting it out there and reminding people and letting them know how it's going, and oh, we're going to be awarding the first scholarship on this day. We need to still raise another $20,000. Like, you know, if you're doing it longer term, but typically like emergent situations, you're looking at a fundraiser that lasts, you know, 1, 2, 3 weeks, right? So it's like, it's very easy to keep up the momentum on that because it's top of mind, but after that period, it kind of fades away.
Sure.
Hey, Dana.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, I can see it, sometimes the family might be so much in the grips of what's going on that they're not even thinking of that as an option, but the extended family, the friends, maybe people who are watching the show might know someone who's in need. Can they go on and register on behalf?
I'm so
glad that you have that
question. So smart.
She is smart.
You are a smart cookie.
Occasionally.
Yeah. Crowdfunding campaigns actually do best when they're run by a third party. So they're typically not run by the person who needs the money. And it sounds funny, but like psychologically speaking, when you say, I need give me money, I need money, versus let's help the Smith family, it's interpreted differently. So especially if it were burial costs, so like often people don't want to pay other people's bills, right? Because it reeks of like irresponsibility and whatever, even though the majority of America, you guys probably know better than me the statistics on like how many people actually plan for death and have money set aside for burial and stuff like that, but like most people don't. But if it's like positioned that way, it's kind of like you're paying someone's bills versus giving them a gift, right?
Huge different sensibility in that.
Yeah, so it's really, so actually when someone says to you, what can I do? One of the things you could say is, we actually, a lot of people are asking if they can help. We'd like to create a memorial fund. I don't really have the bandwidth to run it right now. Would you help me set it up? Would you help run it? Because you've got to put it out. These things are call and response. You have to send it out in email multiple times. You need to post it to Facebook multiple times, right? You need to text it to people. If you just do it once, some people will respond, but even the emergent situations, like people get busy, they just miss stuff, right? So you've got to send a few times. So if you can have someone spearheading that for you, we were just in touch with a woman recently, she ran it for her friends, the son committed suicide, and so she ran it for the family for 6 weeks and then actually transferred ownership over to the mom once she kind of collected herself. So there's various ways to go about it, but more often than not, this is something that people see a need, they see someone going through something tough. Sometimes they ask them if they want it, sometimes they just do it for them, and then it's such a gift.
It's funny, what you're talking about really is advocacy in a time of need, and we need advocacy in life in many different places, and we need it in death as well, and it makes a lot of sense exactly what you're saying when it comes to having somebody else manage the campaign, which only makes sense when the people who are grieving, as you say, don't have the bandwidth to do that. So that's a great point. And there's something right there we can do for another if they're in need, even above and beyond depositing a gift. I did want to ask you, and certainly we can come back to what we're talking about if this feels like too much of a switch of subject, but one of the things that got me very interested in you, Dana, and Deposit a Gift was Rachel's endorsement, and I'm sorry to hear about your company, and I'm sorry to hear and of course if you were watching last week, you remember Rachel from I'm Sorry to Hear talking about her experience in the funeral industry and really trying to bring more transparency to it. One of the things that she mentioned was some of the differences between you and other crowdfunding programs out there, one of which was fees. And I think that's one of the things that people really want to know about. And she had said that yours are some of the lowest fees in the industry, which is beautiful. Another gift, as you're depositing a gift at depositagift.com. So can you tell us a little bit about the difference between you and other ones and how it works
Sure.
behind the scenes so we know what this all means?
Yeah, no, and this is something I always go through in workshops because people are confused on how fees work, and also just some people totally get it if they have any sense of sort of what it takes to run a platform like this. They're like, oh, this is really cheap, and other people are like, whoa, this is so expensive. But the way that the industry works in general, so not just us, anyone, is that the nomenclature is the following. There's a platform fee, and that's how a crowdfunding site keeps their lights on. And then there's a credit card fee. Credit card is there's a cost to processing online. And then what we all do is we roll them up into one. But if you go to any of our websites, we break it down just so people understand. Nobody wants to pull the wool over anyone's eyes. There's a cost. This is a service. It's not just PayPal where you're just processing, because it really is a marketing platform. I mean, that's why when something like this happens, you don't want to just set up a PayPal account, because there's nothing about a PayPal account that would be motivating to somebody, right? There's no goal, there's no thermometer, there's no recent activity feed to show that people are actually doing this, because what we know is that people are like sheep, right? So giving begets giving. So you actually want to set something up where you see the engagement, you see the warm messages, where it feels colorful and personal, and there's pictures that can really make people feel part of something. So you want to move it beyond the cash register, and that's why there's a platform fee, which is so that we can offer this pretty platform for the pictures, the engagement, and the thermometer, and then there's processing. You roll that into one, and that's the one fee that every site will say, oh, before you remove your money, before you cash out, this much percentage will get taken off the top, right? So most other sites, their platform fee is between 5 and 9% plus credit card, right? So anywhere between 8.5% and 12.5% is what they'll take off the top. Our platform fee is between 2 and 4% plus credit card. So with us, you either choose a platform, a total fee of 5.5%, 6.5%, or 7.5%. So even at the highest level, it's a percentage less than other sites. And the way that it works is the two other plan options where the fee is lower, you can pay like a little upgrade. So you can pay $49 up front and bring your platform fee down from 4% to 3%, or you can pay $149 and bring it down from 4% to 2%. And so it's kind of like just paying a little bit of your fee up front to bring the overall fee down. And the way that people are deciding is based on how much they're trying to raise. So if you think you're going to raise $10,000 or more, then it's worth it to upgrade to the $149 because you're saving a lot of money. You're only on 5.5%. It's very low. And if you think you're going to raise between $5,000 and $10,000, people upgrade to that middle plan. And if it's going to be $5,000 or less, then don't pay anything up front and just do the pay as you go. But yeah, so the fees are lower. I mean, some distinctions are, our fees are lower. Our platform is more customizable. We've got like 200 backgrounds to choose from. And also just the layout feels a little bit more like a little mini website. Because if you remember, our earlier days came from being a mashup of a wedding website and a department store registry. So when we evolved and built the fundraising platform, we still kept that like kind of more robust look and feel. So you can add extra pages, you can add a lot of pictures, you can tell more stories, there's a message board, and then we also have that ticket sales functionality. So if you want to turn that on and go from, you started off just thinking you were doing, a fund, and then you realized people are super engaged and they keep saying, well, why don't we have a spaghetti dinner? Why don't we do a little gala? And instead of having to go to another service to sell tickets and get complicated, you literally just flip a switch and you can keep going. So we try to make it a little one-stop shop.
That's great.
And,
it's interesting because the rest of us who are not in your space wouldn't understand all of those different I don't want to call it bells and features, yes, that would distinguish one from when they're choosing. So I love that we're putting this out there because most people who want to engage in helping or may end up helping somebody do a crowdfunding site one day need to know these things because it can make a big difference between how cohesive that message is rather than going out back and forth, let's say, if you are selling tickets.
Right.
And I love the fact that you're offering an opportunity for people to keep more of their money, really, by these different plans that you offer. It seems really robust all the way around. That's really great, really great.
Dana, I'm wondering what you've learned from your memorial customers. Like, what are the needs around I guess receiving funding during times of loss, and what have been your personal and or professional insights in this space?
Sure. So, I mean, we see sort of memorial funds happening in a few different buckets, right? So one bucket would be raising money for funeral, burial, like actually just concrete. We don't have the money to even bury them with dignity the way that we want to. So that would be one way that people raise money. Scholarship seems to happen in two different ways. So one is actually for kids left behind, and then one is scholarship in honor of, to give to like an outside person as like an award. And then the other piece, the other two buckets seem to be like charity. So they'll pick a charity or two, or they'll start their own. And then the other fourth bucket would be like tributes, right? So we've learned how people like to do it. We also have learned, I think, some of the things that we've touched on earlier, like how can we best coach and support people to teach them how to make it work well for them. So things that we've learned, like you want to do it when it happens, as quickly as, as close to the death as possible, or as close to the illness as possible, because that's when people are really emotional, and that's when people are often most generous, and responsive, and trying to help people understand that in a way that doesn't feel calculated, but just accepts a reality of human nature. And we want to help them. We want to help them have this work well for them, and so sort of understanding that there is we try not to use the word marketing, but like, you know, a little bit of a marketing plan. Like, you need to be responsive. It has to be set up credibly. A picture matters, and you know, putting it out there, and also frequently, right? So a lot of times, one thing we've learned is that people are so shy. They don't want to ask for help, which is why actually it works very well to have someone do it for you, a third party. But you know, you can't expect people to be responsive on the first go round, and have that both like not discourage you, right? To think like you're going through this really hard thing, and then be like, oh, nobody cares. It's not that nobody cares. They're busy. They might not have seen it, right? There's you know, so you gotta just put it out there. And we've seen, and then the other thing, the piece of feedback that we got that we share with people when they inquire is just like one person said to us, we were so stunned by all of the words and you know, and the notes of compassion that came along with these donations that really almost mattered more than the money itself. And one family had to do a burial in 2 places, and for the second burial, the priest didn't really know the guy very well, but they actually shared with him all the messages from people, and that's how he got to know him, and that's how he wrote his talk.
Oh, wow, that's brilliant. But that's
really
like a
brilliant.
real amazing spin-off that you wouldn't think, but it's brilliant. Something came in from another viewer, Bill Reed, that I'd like to share, and it's just about what you were talking about. Just that Bill says, agreed on that it's an easier pill to swallow when a third party is asking for help. I also think it takes the pressure of guilt, anxiety, and fear off the one in need. And that's so true, because when we're in grief, when we're you know, facing a great loss, when we're facing all the logistics and the left brain stuff, you know, and trying to manage that along with the emotion, having someone else can really help. So I encourage all listeners to really think of it. You know, if you have people out there you know are going through trouble, consider setting this up for them, because I know I wouldn't be able to set this up for myself or for someone. Like if it was my mom, it would feel weird. It would feel too close. I think, as Bill said, there would be some guilt or anxiety or fear, and I wouldn't do it. However, if it was a little bit of distance, then I'd be like, yeah, I can help out by this. So I'm glad we brought that up. And there's a few other I just want to pop up. And this is another one by Kim, and she's saying, just it's so neat to see topics that were once hush-hush discussed with such candor, common sense. And she's talking to our friend Heidi. Thanks again for your comment, Kim.
I was going to say, that's so true. Sorry, I was chomping the bit. No, I love that, because think about all the things that are hush-hush here. It could be the shame, the guilt of whatever's happened that has happened. It could be the horror, the grief, and then the asking for money on top of that. Oh my gosh, all these things combine, and your platform gives people a way to take care of much of this with great dignity and great comfort. I think that is amazing. That's what I wanted to say about Kim's comment, that last one. Go ahead, Misty.
Yeah. Okay, just another shout out here. Heidi. Heidi's been our follower right from the beginning. She's probably instrumental in getting us here, Dana. An interesting topic. I would need to look into it a little better. When my parents died, they had a death insurance paid for in many years, so the costs were covered, but Heidi has not. So thanks for that sharing, Patty, and hope for Heidi. Hopefully we'll all get there one day. And yeah. anyhow, it's just thanks to all our viewers, and we sure appreciate your comments, so keep them rolling in. And please remember that this, our Deathsticks event page is here forever in time. It's not going anywhere. We're going to leave, but you know, our children, our children's children will really, they will be able to come and watch this show and laugh and say, look at Granny or look at Mom, right? So we're here in time, and you can always leave comments, even if it's, you know, 2 years or many years down the road. You can come here and comment, keep the conversation going.
Right, and Dana, if, you know, that information will get to you too. So if there's anything you choose to comment back on to help people understand this platform a little bit better, we'd love you to do that too.
Great, yeah, we would be happy to provide any support.
That's great. That's great. It should come through once you're connected to the event page. Any comment that comes through, you'll see that. You know, it's interesting. When I had a whole other look at a campaign that I was involved in. It was on a different platform. I didn't know you existed then, although now you're my go-to platform. No one else I see now. I only have eyes for you, Dana. Seriously. But it came in several weeks ago, and it was interesting because when I'm thinking about the baked-in emotion or the baked-in marketing sense that comes with a tragedy, it happened to be, and I contributed to this, just a very small amount, but it was about a doctor, I think it was in South Carolina, who was murdered. He was, and it was shocking, obviously, to the community just for that, but he was a big researcher and offered a lot of treatment and a lot of help for people who had autism. And he apparently had helped a lot of people, but his approaches were quite controversial. So there was a lot of talk back and forth between, I think, a traditional medical community and the implication, we can never say, the implication is that maybe there was some foul play there. Well, knowing that you were coming on, I started thinking about a couple of things, and now that you've just mentioned this thing about reaching out to people and how important it is, this story had a lot of baked-in emotion, and these people were telling, you know, everyone along the way, because this was really a fund to help find his murderer. And I was wondering, can you tell us of one of the most compelling campaigns that's happened on your platform that keeps people? That was one that I thought was very compelling, and I took back to see what's happening, even though I didn't know this man and felt for him. Tell us, if you can, as we're getting closer to the top of the hour, something that happened on your platform that was compelling and had people engaged. Can you think of anything off the top of your head?
Yeah, I mean, recently the CEO of Skechers Shoes, his son, his 17-year-old or 18-year-old son, died on a trip, and they set up a page to do a memorial fund. I mean, obviously, we can imagine they probably have money, but the thing is, it was not money for them, but people were looking for a way to respond, and actually their communications department set it up. And what they did is, because the son was really into like the ocean and marine life, they are going to be refurbishing an aquarium in his honor. And so they created the memorial fund, and it went all around the world to, you know, all of the different companies. I mean, I guess a lot of different companies go into putting together the shoes that we wear, and you know, so it was friends, family, corporate, and that continues to grow, and it's all about, you know, they're going to be creating something this in his honor, and actually then that one we didn't even realize, but not long after that, another campaign for another young man was set up. This one they wanted to do as a scholarship fund, and it turns out that this other family for the scholarship fund saw the one for the Skechers family and set it up. And this particular family was doing it to create a scholarship for like a student in college studying sports marketing, because his mom was big into working in like Nike marketing, and so all of these famous players, because she's been dealing with like you know, Michael Jordan, Carmelo Anthony, like all of these famous people have been part of her career, and her son was her only child, and so he was like by her side, you know, professionally, and so he knew all of these players, and so they're actually creating like a whole foundation, and that one continues to grow. And actually, one thing that's cute that they do to try and remember him on a monthly basis, and it just happened yesterday, was his favorite number was 22, and I think there's probably some sports player that's connected to. So on every 22nd of the month, they do like a big push and ask people to donate $22. Even though people have been donating huge amounts, like thousands of dollars, on the 22nd, it's a way for them to keep Jordan's memory alive. It's a way to keep reminding them that they're trying to grow something, really build it into something big, and to get people who've donated before to be repeat donors. And so every 22nd, they do a big push, and all these $22 donations come in.
See, yeah, it's the ripple effect that comes from this. It's not just your giving, specifically you to them. It's what happens after the fact, whether it's funding something huge or whether the goodwill itself has the ripple effect. And that is really, really something, really compelling. Wonderful. Well, it looks like we're getting up to, I can't tell until I look closely. Yes, it looks like we're getting up to the top of the hour. I know, gosh. So, wow, Dana, thank you so much for being here. What we're used to doing here as we get close to the top of the hour is going around and sharing a little bit about what's happening for each of us. And I was wondering if you would start us off, Dana, with what's happening at your company, what kind of plans, what new things, what can we look forward to, and any other words of wisdom you'd like to share.
Oh, sure. Well, thank you guys for having me. I hope that the information was useful to your audience. I mean, I know you guys, I love your tagline about that you're not here to make light of death, but to make death lighter. I hope I got that right.
They're listening, Misty. Yes, you got it.
Listening. I really like it. I like the concept, and I thought when Rachel from I'm Sorry to Hear, when she introduced us, I said, you know what, I think there's like a nice synergy here that we also in many ways are helping to lift people up during a really difficult time, or at least bring in the support system they need. So, you know, that's kind of really what's going on for us at Deposit a Gift, is we're just, you know, in many ways, even though we've been around for 5.5 years, I still consider us like a startup. We're a lean team of real people behind the scenes who are here to help people, you know, create the fundraising. We say like they're fundraising dreams, but not in the sense of like aspirational, it's never going to happen, or wishful thinking, but actually like actionable dreams, right? So even in the memorial space, people have dreams of burying someone with dignity or doing something beautiful to honor someone that they miss. And actually something that's going on right now is that we are running a promotion this summer called Dream with DAG, right? Deposit a Gift, D-A-G, Deposit a Gift. So Dream with DAG. And if any of your viewers put out a little message in social media, so they literally just need to like do a Facebook post or send out a tweet and do the hashtag Dream with DAG. And in fact, I'll make sure that our team puts up a fresh tweet that people can see. If you tell us your fundraising dreams and put hashtag Dream with DAG, we will respond with a free upgrade code to that. Remember when we were talking about the plans and how we have one that's worth people typically pay $149 to have the low fee of 5.5%. We will give you a free upgrade code. So all you need to do is tell us your fundraising dream, hashtag Dream with DAG, and we will give you a free code. So that's actually like the biggest thing that's going on with us this summer. Otherwise, we're just, you know, one foot in front of the other, trying to grow to support as many people as we can, especially, you know, with their memorial funds.
Wow, that's great. I have to look at that because my mother's name was Dagmar. So Dream
really?
with DAG, yes. That just
that's awesome.
It just was like, wow, Dream with DAG. I love it. I love it. Great. I guess I'll share at doingdeathdifferently.com, which is my website for helping people get trained as to how to be, and that's with a capital B-E, with the dying, how to support another who is leaving this earth, and how to change your life and the life of another, even when that life may be ending. We've got a lot of support for our program, and I just want to share with people that they can come to doingdeathdifferently.com and sign up for that training. If you have any questions about it, you can get in touch with us personally there. But we're just getting a lot of really neat feedback from people who say, wow, I've been drawn to this work. My friends thought I was a little crazy because I'm kind of interested in death. So you know, here you are. You've got a forum, and you've got other people to support that interest and to dive more deeply rather than to turn away. And that's really what Misty and I are all about at the Death Chicks, is to dive a little bit more deeply. And when you get in and you start breathing the same death air, it's not as scary as one would think. There's wonderful people out there in this space like you, Dana, and Rachel, and all the other guests we've had and the viewers on this show that are starting to get attracted to what this really means, that the huge, huge gifts that this space can give us and does give us. And, you know, just it's great that your name, Deposit a Gift. I really believe when you deposit a gift like that, metaphorically and physically, that you get way more back in return. So thank you. Misty, what's happening for you?
Thanks so much, Patty. That was really well said, and I love when you use the expression of diving deeper, and that's really what we're about, and a lot of what I'm about too as a women's empowerment coach. I work with women who are struggling, and if you've had a loss, you know, I help you find that place inside of confidence, and I help you kind of get back on your feet after you've been knocked down. Sometimes when we experience a great loss in our lives, it feels like our 3D world just kind of went flat, and then we're kind of looking around going, what do we do? And I can help you find the inner blocks inside and build those up. Patty also mentioned fear. There's a lot of fear around death and a lot of fear in general, and I have a free mini course called Overcoming Fear, and you can get that on bittersweetblessing.com. It's under the live events tab, where you'll also find a link to the Deathsticks show, and I'm going to be doing an event later this summer to complement that mini course. So go on over to bittersweetblessing.com if that interests you, and please continue to come and share the Deathsticks show around, because like any fear, it's not so bad when you stop and look at it in the eye and start the conversation with it. So thanks everyone for coming. Patty's going to take us out. Dana, that was absolutely wonderful. I had no idea, and I feel really blessed to have this information, and I'm certainly going to share it with those I come into contact with. So thank you, thank you.
Thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate it.
You are so welcome, Dana. And you know what? I'm going to have to ask you to take us out, because for some reason I don't have a stop broadcast button here. so we may just all have to hang up, and that's it.
All right.
Do you have a button there?
That's not a button.
You know, talk about
button.
it being real. Like, I don't know what happened, but you know, Dana and her ghost-like self, I don't know, in and out she came and took the button with it. So
that's funny. Well, I'm happy to hang up. Thank you again for having me, and you know, talking about Deposit a Gift for memorial funds with your audience. I appreciate it. And anyone who needs help with anything and writes to us, just you can email support@depositagift.com, or you can even email me personally, which is just Dana@depositagift.com, just DANA, and just let us know that you heard me on the Death Chicks, and we'll give, you know, anyone coming from the Death Chicks a little extra special attention.
Oh,
so
that's so
have
great.
a wonderful day, and I will, if you'd like me to, I will do the hang up.
Well, that's great, but before you hang up, I want to give you one last shout out, since you obviously have a button. I don't know. Yeah, you did steal that button. The thing I wanted to say is that I love that there's a face behind this platform, because many people, I'm sure, try to find somebody to talk to in maybe other platforms, and it's not that easy, and you guys seem to be there and be willing to support no matter what. So thank you for that. And take us away, Dana.
All right. Have a good day, everyone.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Well, Patty, I think we best just hang up because I don't know how else to live stream. I know we chat after, but I don't know if we should share those talks with everyone else.
I think so too. See, I had my going off air smile and it wasn't happening. So.
All right, I'm gonna hang up now.
Ready?
We'll catch you on the other side. 2,
1, 2,
3.
3. Bye.